Why did I get 2 notifications?
Who knows? I got
One for
one.
you, one for Cubs Out Loud.
YouTube notifications. Watch live now.
Watch live now. Well, we are live. So I'm looking at my phone.
The light is on.
I know. Imagine that.
Coming from inside the house.
Really?
I don't know.
Where the hell is that post that you just made on Facebook about today's episode and what we're going to be covering?
I don't know.
No, that's not it. That's about Daddy Days.
Did Gary make it, or did
I don't
the
know.
Cubs Out Loud make it?
Cubs Out Loud.
Okay.
Or do you mean I made it as Cubs Out Loud? Because that'll just
You made it as
confuse
Cubs Out
everybody.
La la la.
Did you find it? Because it should be.
Okay, I'm just typing it out.
Did I create an event for today in the
Yes, you
Facebook
did.
group? Maybe that's where it's at.
La la la.
It's an event. Boost the event.
With coffee.
Actually, Facebook just wants some money to get more viewers.
Chester. All right. Did you find it?
No?
Fuckery. New message. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. And fuck you. I have had it officially. I am at detox level. Day and send. Oh shit! That needs to be edited. We have to take out Gabe and Hadrian.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I see it.
La la la.
And if someone makes just a cut of that audio, it's going to sound like a hit with the Mafia, and that's not what I mean.
You're saying I should put that at the end of the show, right?
All of this stuff from the beginning, sure, you can make a shawarma. I really don't care.
But we're live.
Close that, and close that, and close that, and close that. And anybody who begins to watch us will suddenly figure out or understand, because I think we should talk about why everything's all cattywampus today.
Janky.
That's like the first thing on the agenda.
Janky.
You have the bumpers, right?
Wait, what?
You have the bumpers, right?
Oh, God. Man, like, don't do this to me. Use words I understand.
Like the what's going on thing and the feedback thing.
No.
All right. Well, let's just move on.
All right. So we'll do it. We'll do it in post. We'll do it live.
Fuck it. We'll do it live.
Is that a newsroom?
No, it's Bill O'Reilly.
Bill O'Reilly.
Bill O'Reilly losing his shit on camera.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
He's not on camera anymore. All right. Do you want me to press play, Jeff, and we can begin?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
You feel my pain.
Really, girl? What are you doing?
It's July 2nd, 2017 on Jeff.
Who's your bear? That's right.
I am your bear.
I'm Damon.
I'm Chester.
This room is a pigsty, and you're a dirty pig boy.
And that makes me admin number 2 today, Gary. Something like that.
Don't hurt nobody with your bad self.
Welcome to Comes Out Loud, the Bear Podcast of Indeterminate and Fucked Up Beyond Recognition.
Episode.
Yeah, something like that. We actually have a good topic for the day, but there's other things that have happened. And one of the best things that happened is we have a guest. We have Chaz!
Yay! Who is looking very...
Oh my God,
who was with his glass on his face, looking very granddaddy. Like, in my day. Are you looking down at me?
Yes.
Oh, thanks. Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Oh my God. It's such a mess.
Hey, why don't you explain why everything's such a mess?
Yeah, we're getting to that. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
My phone just did.
What are we? Your cam's gone, Jeff.
Ah! Hangouts. Oh my God. Kind of a notification and it has to go away. Anyways, normally we would play a share here, but because of what's going on with me, hey, what's going on? Computer down. Repeats, computer down. So you know this whole past month and a half or so, I set that GoFundMe campaign about a new computer. Well, here's why. My computer is completely down. I have no way of booting it up. I have no way of reinstalling Windows or anything. I have not been able to recover this fucking thing. And the thing that I have a problem with is I'm not sure if I can afford to just fix it. And we've had some generous donations for getting the new computer, but I don't want to use that because that was meant to get a new computer, not to fix the old one, which is old. So I've come to a major dilemma here. I'm iffy about taking it, somebody look at it, because that's going to cost me something, and I have no fucking idea how much it's going to cost. And I may need a new hard drive, but I need to make sure I can reinstall Windows. But because Windows 10 doesn't have installation media, I think there may be a problem with my DVD drive, which makes it so that I can't even use my old Windows Vista machine to reinstall that and then upgrade from there. Just at a loss of what to do. That I think yesterday, I had my first migraine. And I just spent the day just chilling, watching the Nerdtacular stuff, and which is going on this weekend, as well as some of the Summer Games Done Quick. Not dealing with it. This also means I can't raid it, which is one of my enjoyment things that I do on a weekly basis. Right now, I come home and I just sit down and watch TV. I just can't do it. It's and because of that, it means we couldn't stream the show like we've been normally doing the past 2 weeks. So we've been trying to fuddle together to figure out how to do it, and it's Gary's been busy. He's been amazing, nonetheless, and trying to communicate that I did to try to get it to do it on his computer, which is not a Windows PC, it's a Mac. So things work differently. It's just been a disaster, and I'm depressed as well That's what's been going on with me.
Cool story, bro.
So we go. I think as we go on, we will start doing things as much as we can, and hopefully, we have come up with a temporary solution. Everything that we can do, we can try to help. If you can help, please do. Like that's the general throw out there. So
No, I'm just telling you what's going on.
yeah.
Damon, what's been going on with you?
So this week I was part of I was invited to be a part of a panel called, and I'll reach over here and I gotta reach it out. Overcoming Discrimination, Stories of Triumph. The Mr. Cincinnati Leather here, Dorian put this together as a sort of way to show basically, we are, people of color. It was several people of color, and we told our stories. We told stories of how we've had encountered or been victims of issues of discrimination, and then how we've overcome that and how we've built from that and gone on from that. The stories were varied, and they were wonderful. It was interesting to hear specific stories. One of the stories was actually from Ryan Pup Polish, who is the current international Mr. Bootblack. So that was kind of cool. But it wasn't just, and that's the other thing. It wasn't just a leather panel. It was there were several other people from the community in Cincinnati that were a part of it that have no leather leanings, but it was good to kind of put all that together and put that perspective on it. I was happy to be a part of it. I will definitely do it again. It was Facebook Lived. Dorian Facebook Lived it from his page. So I'm sure there's video somewhere online for it. But it was great, and I'm so happy I got to do it. It was a highlight of my week, and it was fun. It was a good time. So, Chester.
I've had a hell of a month. So, yeah. I was looking back at the episode list, and the last time I recorded on a regular COL episode was May 28th.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my.
So, it's been over a month. I've been on Drag Race, obviously, but yeah. Let's see. Finished off Tidal Wave, which was awesome. After that, Evan and I spent a week at Universal Studios and Walt Disney, which was awesome. Was at Minneapolis Pride last week. My friend Joe, also known as Burlick, in Columbus, may have a job lined up for me. Sweet. And also, I was approved for my apartment in Columbus, which means I'm moving.
Yay!
That's all going to happen around the 28th-ish of July. So, yeah, it's been an exciting month. Terrifying, like I'm about ready to close this chapter of my life and move on to the next one.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Hey, you'll be closer to me.
And me.
Yay.
And that guy who's muted.
That's all right.
It's weird to think about. The three of us are going to be so close together now, like only mere hours apart.
Dangerous.
We're dangerous.
Does that make it my turn?
No, I think it's Gary's.
Gary's turn. Gary has to
Gary's,
go.
but he's muted.
Well, because I was doing some other stuff. I'm sort of producing in the background. It's all like, yeah. Welcome to the day of fuckery. All right. So, guess who's back in the house?
Your dad?
No. Nothing. None of y'all can be prepared for what I'm about to say. So, hang on. I've got an emergency message. Yeah, I know that. Sorry. Anyways, our other guest just messaged me, so I'll get back to them momentarily. So I was gone to a convention and decided, well, I was on my way home yesterday, and I kind of felt like fate was driving me, not literally, that I needed to go a certain direction physically when I was driving on the way home. I had been on a certain website over the weekend because I was, oh, that's right, single in a hotel room. So I was chatting with locals, and I made mention of going to an ABS. For those y'all that don't know what a fucking ABS is, it stands for Adult Bookstore.
Yes.
And I was advised that the ABS was probably not the place to go, and that I should go check out a place that's officially called a sauna.
Okay.
So to clarify, the sauna is actually a private-owned bathhouse, and it's not necessarily the best place on earth. It's also not as low as the nightmare one I did back when I was in my 20s that we talked about on the bathhouse episode
Yeah.
of LTAS. But and I had a really good time. So
Oh.
you know,
So you're the one back in the house, and the house is the bathhouse.
Damon gets the prize.
Got it. Okay. Now I get it. Dots have been connected.
There is something to be said for being fresh/new meat in an area that people don't know you at all. And also, you may do some things publicly that are on display. You know, so
Where is this place?
I'll tell you.
Purely research question.
I'll tell you. Yeah, I'm sure. I'll tell you
We'll
later.
talk. Don't worry, Chester. There are at least two in, I believe there's two. Maybe there's only one now in Columbus.
There's only one in Columbus, I believe.
Yeah. I thought there was another one, but I think it might be closed.
So, yeah, it was a very interesting time. I met a gentleman from a Midwestern state who didn't know about other locations other than just that one. He happens to be working in a trade industry that he, of all things, apparently Craigslist is like the happening place for people to get an education about such facilities. So I also met a younger guy who's 26 but looks 20, or actually more like 18. And he was surprisingly very educated about bathhouses and that they exist. And, well, no, I mean, I just want to say this for the record. He and I had a full conversation. Like, I realize people probably go, for sex. But he was actually wanted to have a conversation. We talked and learned what each other's, first names were, and we chatted about things. And I was really intrigued that at his age, he knew what they were, and that he, went to one, and he had already been to Flex up in Cleveland. I said, how did you know about this stuff? Because in my mind, it's not something I see someone of that age necessarily knowing about. I could be wrong about that. I just feel it's mostly an older age demographic. Because notably, there was only about 3 people that were probably there that were in their early 20s to mid 20s. So, but yeah. So it was good, and the reason I wanted to talk about it is because it was very affirming. I know we talked about it when we went to Claw. But to me, that was a different thing because we went because it was a bear pool party. So you are in an environment with all those individuals that are there. And I think we demographically changed the audience of who was at Flex, where this was different. This was kind of like whoever shows up or whoever's there is there, kind of thing. So yeah, no, it was good.
You go, Stella. You get that groove. You get it.
There's a lot more I want to talk about, but I'm not going to say this because this is going out to the world, and I'm not at liberty right now to kind of talk about some of that.
Go ahead, Stella. Get that groove back. Get that groove, girl.
Yeah. Now I need another sound clip, of which I don't have. None of us have. There's that. Chaz, what about you? What have you been up to, or what has been going on for you?
So, well, last week, well, I guess timey-wimey, like,
No, this episode goes out today.
yeah. Last week was 3 things that happened on Saturday were awesome. The first one was it was Pride in Lexington, which was good. It was also my birthday.
Yay! Happy birthday!
Yay!
That was
Happy
fun.
birthday!
Additionally, I also got to celebrate the birth of a second child that I was involved in the making of. So that's Riley and Rachel had their second son, Finian Kelly Johnson Hennessy.
Ooh.
It's going to be called Finn.
Yeah, I think they are already calling him Finn.
Aww.
Which is kind of like the character from the Star Wars 7.
Yeah. So
we got a Star Wars connection. I'm happy about that.
The only other like shenanigans that really happened was, so I went to have dinner with Brady, Mr. North American Bear Cub, and then also Cameron / Pup Scorpio / Shelby, however you happen to know Cameron, and several other people. We went out to a Texas Roadhouse.
Uh-oh.
And I went to the bathroom, and when I got back, I had this flash of moment while I'm sitting there, or actually standing there at the urinal, like taking a leak. I'm like, oh, I left them alone. No, we're not going to have like happy clappy singing happy birthday time at the fucking restaurant shit. And so I go back to the table and I tell them, after I've sat down and kind of worked myself back into the conversation, oh, and by the way, motherfuckers, if you all have talked to them and planned any fucking birthday shit, that is not happening. And if it does, I'm going to take the nuts off of whoever fucking did it. And because I don't like that shit. I don't like being a spectacle in a restaurant that kind of way. So then I called out the waiter when he came back and said, listen, that is not going to happen. It better not happen because I'm not going to react well. And basically, I had really like kind of presumed that the instigator was going to be Cameron, and that's what had happened. And so this went on the whole dinner long, that Cameron might have set something up, while all the while protesting his innocence. Oh, it wasn't me. I didn't do anything. And I'm like, yeah, right. And finally, we're done with food, and here they come. And I just stared straight down at the table, and I didn't move, and I didn't react. And I'm like, I can cause an incident right now. And I really thought about it because I was really mad at the server at that point because I'd already let him know, look, not going to be good.
Yeah.
And I just don't react, and I don't move. I don't speak. I don't look at anybody. And afterwards, the waiter's like, he hates me now. Oh my God, he hates me. And I'm just like, damn right. You're lucky I'm not calling your manager over to like have that scene. But then afterwards, after all of that crap, Brady owns that it was him.
Oh!
After I'd already marked one down in my black book for Cameron. And so I erased that one and changed it, and Brady got 2, 1 for doing it and 2 for letting Cameron take the rap for it the whole damn dinner.
Aww.
But other than that, my birthday was fine. Plus, we got Finn showing up on my birthday, which is pretty damn awesome. And then,
Finn's birthday.
Yeah, it's our birthday now. Yeah, and so now And then we had Pride, of course, which was excellent as well. So
Sweet.
yeah, that was a whole lot of crap, but there it is.
For the record, I saw it coming that Brady was the instigator, the way you were telling the story, and I was like, oh, no. Shelby didn't do nothing. I'm like, Tipper's just completely getting himself into this.
Well, could Shelby have been an accomplice by just not saying anything?
Well, Cameron didn't rat Brady out, but strongly denied that it was him at any point.
Yeah. Essentially, I think
So
what
at least
happened.
he was telling the truth.
Yeah, I think probably what happened is that Brady went and did it, and he didn't do it like while the guy was at the table. He did it like while the server was at the table. He did it kind of off the side, and maybe Cameron didn't see it. Maybe.
Well, the thing is that my husband was there and told them, I don't think you should do that. That he's not going to like that. And they went right ahead anyway. So
yeah.
And when I said
Gotta listen to
when I said I was going to take people's nuts off over it, they were like, "Oh shit."
Can we set this like if they're coming to the table, it's like no.
I shut it down. Like I told the server, I'm like, I will not react well.
Well,
so
obviously they didn't pay attention to that.
No. So,
but
anyway.
in a way, the server is actually the one held accountable.
Oh yeah, he's the bad guy.
Truth.
Because if you as the customer made the statement, I don't care what anybody said, what anybody's told you, I do not want this to happen, and they still do it, then at that point, I'm not trying to take this away from Brady. It's like you've actually changed things. Like you've changed the parameters or the protocol. It's like, nope, that's not how this is.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it really should have been. If I hadn't been so insistent on just getting the fuck out of there, I would have gotten a manager involved and been like, listen, this is not the experience I came here for. I tried to tell your server that this was not something that should happen, and so you need to do something about it.
Yep.
I hate being that guy. I don't like, being the dissatisfied customer who throws a shit fit, but that's one that'll get it done. And if we'd stayed any longer, it was going to happen.
I'm in the same boat. I can't stand if somebody puts me on the spot like that I'm not prepared for. I don't like it for other people. It really irritates me when I'm eating dinner at Texas Roadhouse. I know they do it at other restaurants, but all of a sudden you've got a train full of waiters walking out and clapping and singing happy birthday to somebody I don't even know. And I'm like, well, that's great.
Happy birthday from Applebee's to you. I wish it were my birthday. We could party too. I know. Crushed it.
Coming in the future, replaced by robots. Happy birthday.
Jess, you'll understand when you listen to last week's episode, or the last episode.
All right.
Nice.
It's a callback. So if you have no idea what that was about, and you haven't listened to last episode, why are you listening to this one? Listen to last episode first.
Sweet.
Anyway, I'm glad that despite people being shitballs to your wishes, that you had a good birthday.
Yeah, it was good.
And I hope you punish Brady accordingly. We'll certainly enjoy that.
It's marked down in the book.
Okay, good. All right.
Question from the audience. Is this a proverbial book? Like, is it digital in a device?
It's right here. It's right here. I write it down.
So it's a mental book.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a mental book with a physical cue.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So before all this foobar happened, we were going to record something, but we didn't. So I'm going to just read it Not the whole thing. So I'm going to read it. But hopefully it's going to sound better in the future. Being that we're a smaller scale podcast, we don't have advertisers knocking down our door to give us money, and that's okay. Which is why we want to take a moment to tell you about 2 really great ways you can support Cubs Out Loud. Over 9 years, COL has produced hundreds of audio episodes and now with matching video shows for you to enjoy. This year, we introduced the new COL logo and launched our new merch store over at zazzle.com/CubsOutLoud. Or you can also use the COL merchandise link on our podcast website to pull up the online store. Here you can take a look at a range of products, including t-shirts, hats, poker chips, underwear, backpacks, and various other things with the COL logo on them, and a few things with the old COL logos. And keep an eye out for new things to be added based on our interests and requests. We typically can be found showing off these great items on the video stream of our shows. Also, to help with our new format for doing live YouTube videos, shows that help create the audio version, we have a GoFundMe campaign underway at gofundme.com/COLstream. This campaign allows us to afford upgrading the PC that is currently down, that Jeff uses to produce our show. Oh, by the way, that's me. Plus, a better computer means better quality streams. And thanks in advance for not only listening to Cubs Out Loud, but helping support the podcast too. So, we're talking about shirts. I'm on my phone, by the way. So just, of course, showing my Cubs Out Loud shirt I'm wearing. Here, can't really see it well. Anybody else got anything?
I have Killer Bob.
No.
Hello?
I've
Killer?
No. No, we don't have. We do not. I don't think. Oh, Gary has the Cubs Out Loud hat. Distressed hat.
That's all he's wearing is the hat.
No, that's not true. I'm also wearing bearskin undies.
Unfortunately, that's none of our products, but we thoroughly support bearskin. So.
And Killer Bob. And the shirt I'm wearing, which is wherever. Is what? T-Furry? No. T-Turtle. Yay. It's Doctor Strange.
That's a clue. Anyways.
But yeah.
Nice.
Moving right along.
Moving on into feedback.
Hey, I got a thing.
Okay.
I sort of have a thing.
Oh.
Hang on. Let me see if I can make this work. Or not. Ish. Come on. God bless America.
Okay, an alternative version. Gary, what's been going on over in Facebook land?
Yeah. So we have likes, but I haven't put them into the doc because of all the fuckery for today. Today's word of the day. But we do have a comment. Drew, for those of you that are familiar, my bestie who's been on the show before, he ordered a COL t-shirt and sent us a photo of the message. It says, "How you doing? Got my new COL shirt today." So
it's a nice muscle shirt too.
Yeah, he's actually happy about the fact that that's one of the model versions, I guess, of shirts available to.
Sweet.
So.
Sweet.
Yep. Chester?
Let's see. I took a bunch of stuff out, so I gotta find it. Okay, so we have 3 new Twitter followers. Lestoke. I Love Gay Austin, which is a Twitter cast that keeps up to date and current events for Austin, Texas. And Fizzy Jiggity.
Fizz Giggity.
Fizz
Jiggity.
Jiggity.
Giggity.
Giggity. Okay. Obviously, Chess and Damon know this person.
I don't know. I'm just reading that it.
Fizz giggity.
Well,
Giggity.
According to a conversation between
it's
EFTBA Paul and him, you guys have met.
I've met her. I met her.
Her?
I believe that's her. Okay. This is, if I'm remembering correctly, this is DFFT B.A. Paul's sister or sister-in-law. I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, it's a C. We met at Argos because he was talking because Paul was there and we were talking about the podcast. So yay, welcome. Hi.
We also got a couple Twitter messages. DFTBA Paul said in regards to the COL special episode 6, Daddy's Day Story Time. Woo, that was sexy. Blushing at work, heart emoticon.
Listen to that at work.
I don't think they should be listening to it at work, or at least not, put headphones in.
Oh no, I think they should be listening to it at work with headphones on their portable device in a bathroom stall.
And then I kind of just mentioned this in reply to Fizz Giggity. By the way, a good way to get more info is to go to the @Cubs Out Loud podcast and use the search feature and look up the LTAK, which is Let's Talk About Kink.
Sweet.
Also, I just want to give a shout out to DFTBA Paul that I just noticed all the tweets that you had made regarding our Drag Race episodes, and I'm sorry we didn't get to them on air. Let's see. G-Bear Trucker 65 in regards to COL421, Handsome versus Sexy. It's time for the handsome and sexy esteemed gentlemen of @Cubs Out Loud podcast featuring Ray. # Jeff is fucking hot.
Dealing with my heat. Not necessarily that I look good.
He also made a comment on COL419. This is the way we genetically roll. Enjoying the very good @Cubs Out Loud podcast. # Power Bottom Hour. Oh my.
Ooh.
With lots of eyes. And we also have a whole bunch of Tumblr feedback, but I'm going to save it for another day.
We'll just add on to it more.
This is my fizz gig face.
I know what a fizz gig is, but that's because I'm an old 80s cubby nerd. So
Speaking of old 80s cubby nerds.
Should we get into our topic?
Yeah.
Wow.
Transition.
That's a segue.
that was kind of a weird segue. I didn't know where you were going with that. I was like, wait, what? I'm like, I'm talking about the Dark Crystal, bitch. Like, where are you going with that? Yeah, so today's show topic is one that actually is very, the only word I want to come up with is old, and that's not meant to be a pun. It's from a conversation that Chester and I had about the history of COL from a couple years ago, and I mentioned something along this line,
yeah.
and then Chester goes, "We should do a show on that." So.
Oh yeah, I remember that conversation.
Ta-da! Here we are. So yeah, I thought it would be interesting to finally get around to the long ago discussed topic about couples with age differences. Specifically, the benefits and the challenges of being in a relationship with someone where there's a notable age difference. And I don't know if we really want to get into defining or describing that kind of stuff, but in Chess's usual fashion, it appears since I last looked at the doc a while ago, we have an outline of things to discuss.
I didn't make this outline. Just saying.
Oh, okay.
Uh-oh.
It was me.
Just kind of.
Oh, it was.
Oh, that was you, Chester? Really?
Yeah.
Nice. I'm just like, I'm used to Chess always being like, I have ideas, and then just puts out a page of stuff, and we're like, oh, okay.
So, just to kind of qualify this, how many of us are in a relationship that kind of covers this.
Yeah.
17
Yeah.
17 years of age difference.
So
16.
mine was a little smaller, and mine was 12 years. Because Carl, when I moved down here, Carl was years older than I. But of course, that like the major relationship when I moved down here only lasted about. But I had a relationship like that.
And Jim and I are going on. We celebrated our 14th anniversary in June, and we are 16. I actually did it this morning. 16 years, 9 months, and 10 days apart.
Wow, very specific.
Yeah, it's one of the things that wake you up in the morning. Like I knew we were talking about this, and I was like, how far apart? So Jen was born in January 1963, and I was born in October 1979. And it's yeah. So anyway,
oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, if you're going to get that specific, I think Evan and I are 16 years and 9 months different. I think. I don't know. I'd have to look at the calendar.
And
So Joe and I are 25 years apart.
wow,
He is actually 5 years older than my parents, which is exciting. And we got together when I was a little yappy 22-year-old, and he was 47.
wow! I did not know that the age was that
25.
big.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Well, we could talk about that later.
Sure.
The fact that he is older than your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Chester, you seem to have put in here a Vanity Fair article about generation gaps.
It's just a infographic,
Oh, okay.
and it loosely points out key points of certain generations and what they're known for. So yeah, it's very tongue-in-cheek. Some of the stuff people will identify with, and then there's other things that are just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess that was a thing.
Yeah.
For instance, life-altering events for the iGen, which are people who were born after 2000, was the release of the iPhone 6. Whereas millennials get free Wi-Fi. That doesn't make sense to me. But one thing on the life-altering event line for Gen X is 9/11 happened. And I'm pretty sure that it identifies with a lot of Gen X people, not just people that were alive during that time, but Gen X specifically identifies with them the most because we were in our 20s at the time.
Yeah, I really think the next one on that line where it says for the boomers that the first time they tried pot was their life-altering experience. I think for a lot of them, it's more like, when Kennedy was shot. Like,
exactly.
That's the milestone.
Exactly. So this little infographic, it's like Chester said, it's very tongue-in-cheek. There are certain things that identify with it, and then there are other things that don't. It's just, I think they're just trying to, it's Vanity Fair. They're trying to keep it light and airy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting as kind of a grid. Also, this is sort of off topic but related. I recently was listening to some people talk about the fact that I think there's actually a TED Talk maybe about the fact that the concept of generations, like labeling them, is sort of a misnomer because what happens is you say there's a definitive like date, like an age, like a year range, like it says Gen X is ending in 79, and then there's like 80 to 2000. But what I find interesting about that is now there's these recent, or maybe it's the same article, they're all popping up with this weird hybrid, like
Zennials.
Yeah, like they're the crossover between the Gen X and the millennial, and that's more speaking about the fact that this maybe it was a Terry Gross interview. What I found interesting was this woman was basically saying, I think as a social scientist, she was like, meh, to define it and say, okay, if you were born in this year, you were clearly this, is sort of a misnomer because, why is it that one year gets to be one thing and the next year gets to be something completely different?
Right.
And what I think comes out of it is that it's fluid. Like and what it ultimately represents is you have a different life experience, like in your upbringing and your culture of where you are, and therefore that will dynamically be what you're comparing. So, like for Chess and Joe, because of the quarter century difference, the time frame in which Joe grew up versus Chess, very, very, technology difference, societal difference, those type of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of more the focus about like the age as opposed to who is what generation. But yeah, no, the graphic, it's cute and it's kind of fun.
When you think about generations, usually it means spans of age. Typically, when people, like anthropologists, when we talk about generations, we're talking about a span of 20 to 25 years based on that's when you have children, your parents had you, their parents had them. It moves in this block of 20 to 25 years. But during that block of time, there's tons of things that change, like people's tastes in music and movies, pop culture in general. Also, people's values, morals, and ethics. And when Evan and I first started dating and somebody pointed out, wow, you could be his dad. And I'm like, it's true, I could be physically. But you know what? There's really not that much difference between us because we are both very tech savvy. We both have the same types of values, morals, and ethics. There's really only one big difference between us, and that's life experiences. I've got 18 years on the kid. As far as life experiences go, but there's so many other things that we both enjoy. We both like the same type of music. We both like the same type of video games. We both love going out and playing Pokemon. Our drive for playing Pokemon is very different, though. Like, he's all about knowing which Pokemon are which and what they do and what they can't do, and like, he's very, very into it, and I'm just like, well, this is fun. Yeah, let's go do this.
Interesting. Because I can say for me and Jim, a lot of the things that brought us together. Well, actually, it's slightly different. Because I've always been, I've always considered myself, for the most part, a little bit more mature than my peers, the people around the same age as I am. Always have, just as when something that is maybe life experience, whatever, has kind of given me a different perspective of life on things. And Jim, on the other hand, has a very youthful grasp of things, not necessarily an innocence or what have you. It's just we kind of balance out, whereas I've kind of been a little bit more mature on things. He can kind of be a little bit more fun and free on things, and it kind of balances everything out. We have a lot of the similar things in common, which is I think what the central point of thing is. We both enjoy theater. We both enjoy certain movies. We both enjoy comics in different ways. It's a matter of kind of finding that good balance.
Yeah, I think that's pretty similar. Like for Joe, he number one, he was a journalist, so that makes him kind of First Amendment liberally kind of thing. Plus, he was a university professor for 20 odd years, and so he kind of always had that youthful minded kind of environment that he was in, and so that kind of created for him kind of a lot of connection with folks who were younger than he was. Whereas I grew up in a community that was very small and mostly comprised of middle-aged church ladies. And so,
your middle-aged church lady.
yeah, and like, and you know, my brother, who's 2 years younger than me, was basically like the only other kid who was around when I was growing up. So, I grew up around adults, and I learned to relate primarily and most effectively with people who were a fair bit older than me. And so, I don't know if it's necessarily about maturity at that point, but at least my connection with people and ease of connection with people happened with folks who were, 20 years plus older than I am. And so I think that those things kind of allowed us to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Kind of what Damon was describing there a little bit.
Yeah. One thing I will say that I found it funny that I guess technically, yes, Jim is old enough to be my father since there's a 16-year difference. It wouldn't, and depending on your, society and your community and what have you, you could even at 13 be old enough to be someone's father. It is possible, especially nowadays. No offense, it's just the way it is. So, but the one thing I wanted to add was that that has never really come up in our relationship. Like, you could be my father. No, it's never really, been. Yeah, I've called him daddy, but that's in a totally different concept kind of thing. But I've often consider him my daddy bear. I've changed the pet name, quote unquote, for him because as we've gotten more involved in the leather community and he has learned or been more of a daddy, quote unquote, in the leather community, I wanted to kind of separate that daddy from him being my partner daddy, because he's my daddy bear. There's a difference, a major difference. And I don't want people to think that other dynamic is part of our relationship. It was for a hot minute, but it is definitely gone now. He is. We have established that we cannot be daddy boy. We made that decision several years ago.
I'm giggling at those comments or at your story because I receive comments about that all the time. And so does Evan. Evan is not educated in the leather community or BDSM or kink or any of those things other than the little bit that I've shown him or the occasional question that might pop up from others. We have gotten comments about, am I a daddy figure to him? I have made comments to him about being a daddy figure. Like, I will joke around about it. I quote Ferris Bueller's Day Off quite a bit. Like, when we first started dating and we would see each other, I would walk up to him and I'd go, "Do you have a kiss for daddy?" Because that's what Ferris says to his girlfriend Sloan when he picks her up from school and he's dressed up and he's in the posed as his dad. He would get irritated when I would ask him that. And then finally I was like, all right, fine, I just won't say it anymore. So I don't. But 2 weekends ago, was it 2 weekends ago? Well, whenever it was, we went to Minneapolis Pride, and it was also his birthday. So as a birthday present, I wanted to get him his very first leather harness. We go into Twin Cities Leather and Latte, and I tell him, It's all cloak and dagger at this point. He doesn't know why we're there. I'm just like, hey, let's go to the leather store. Let's have some coffee. And I start having him try on harnesses, and I'm like, well, did you find one you like? And he picked out one that's black with green piping. And I'm like,
Dark green? Hunter
yes,
green?
Hunter green. And I'm like, are you sure you want that color? And he's like, well, yeah, it's my favorite color. And I'm like, you realize people are going to think that you're into daddies now. And he's like, are you serious? And I'm like, that's exactly what people are going to think. And he's like, oh, okay, I guess.
Grudging acceptance.
The only thing that comes to mind at this moment, unfortunately for you, Evan, is the famous gay overuse quote. But you are, Blanche. You are.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like that's okay. So where are we at in the? Sorry, because I don't want to get out of the outline.
That's fine.
Oh, no. We're kind of in there because we're in the age, maturity, and life experiences kind of thing. That's been one of the things that I've kind of enjoyed most about being in a older relationship is that they have a lot of experience, so they have a lot of knowledge about things. It's not I'm not taking it like verbatim as like fact or whatever, but there's a definite knowledge base there that you don't normally get from someone your own age, and that knowledge base kind of falls also into certain other aspects of your life, including bedroom. Like it's just the way it is. There are some things that they are able to. That's when I've always been attracted to older men. That has just been a fact about my life. It has always been something I've always been attracted to. I've not really been mostly into guys my own age, and the main reason is because there was a time in my life when I wanted to be an educator that is no longer the case. And the main reason is because I don't like guiding people and showing people. I sometimes do, but I don't like guiding people and showing people how to do certain things that I feel they should already know. And I know, and so part of that is when you're with someone who's older, they tend to already know the basics, in and out kind of things. They know some of those things. They know a lot of knowledge about stuff, and also a lot of them are able to just are willing to open themselves up, quote unquote, to other experiences because they know where they've been, and they're all more than happy to learn new things from the youngins, as it were. Jim and I have a very interesting sex life. We're both tops, if you didn't know that. So the way we do things together when we're together is all about exploring the body and exploring like different things and touch and getting each other off in that way. Journey, it's all about the journey, not necessarily the destination, is what he always has said. And that's one of the things that I always believe in. I don't always have to get off, but I really fucking enjoying where we're going. So yeah, I think that's been one of the biggest things for me, is that our age difference has allowed me to grow more in regards to different aspects of my life, but also allowed him to.
All I could think about while you were doing that, talking about that, was there's a country song from a zillion years ago where it's like, older women are beautiful lovers. and I was just like, yeah, because I don't know. Generally, I would rather have sex with somebody who has age and experience on their side than somebody who doesn't, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And so you're going to find that more in some cats with the age on them.
And it's not dissing or denying that there are young people out there that have experienced and have
Prodigy.
and have like do a lot of things and learn more. Go ahead, Chester.
Yeah, well, that can go both ways. It's true. That does not mean that because you're younger or that you've had less experience that you're going to be bad in bed, because that's not true. Because Evan's pretty damn good in bed. But it's also true that just because you're older and may have had more experience does not make you good in bed.
Very true. Because there are certain things that you learn that you've kind of have hardwired into yourself that you think is good and pleasurable, and it really isn't.
I brought it up before in one episode, whenever it was, about this guy I hooked up with at NAB who came to my room. It was like, I'm the best cocksucker in the world. And I'm just like, oh my God, 5 minutes into it, I'm like, get the fuck off of me already. Just leave, because you're so bad.
You're so bad. Yeah. It's not always cut. It's not always black and white. Like that's one thing. Because I've obviously someone older had to take experience with me on in order for me to really to learn or to get that ability. Learn how to suck cock or whatever. I had experience obviously, but there was more to it after the fact,
Well, I think that talking about this specific instance of sex, and if it makes somebody good and bad or not, is a good way to discuss the fact that just because somebody is older in age doesn't necessarily mean that they're mature. Just the same as just because somebody is younger in age doesn't mean that they're immature. Because you could be 22, 23 and be very mature at your age. You could have the skill set of an adult that is grounded, knows where they want to be in life, knows where they want to go, because of your upbringing and the people around you. As Chess mentioned, he was around adults most of his life. He has the foundation for being an adult when he gets there.
Yeah. I know it's funny. I'm going to mention this, Chess, because I realize that you're not that much older than me.
Just a couple of months.
It doesn't click into my head until I actually look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I go, wow, because you have a mature air about you and a maturity in your stance in life that betrays your age.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a bad or good or bad thing. It's just it always catches me like, oh, you're you're 37, 38 if you're not already. Yeah.
Just turned 38.
Yeah. I don't know why, but that always catches it. I'm like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just as a piece on the side, that did not sound right.
On the side.
We have a live chat comment from Drew. He's watching us. He said, I like sharing the experiences with a younger guy. There's a certain joy to seeing their reactions to those new experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have lots to say about that.
Hashtag side piece.
Yeah.
I was reading an article because I was trying to prepare myself, looking for certain keywords to use when discussing this. But one of the articles that I was reading was mainly pointing out the fact that there is a difference between emotional maturity and life experience maturity. And I know for myself, I have had a lot of life experience maturity. except for like one key thing that people, now that I've gone through it, I think people need to go through it because it gives them a really good perspective on the rest of their life. But that ties in very much with emotional maturity, which I know Gary and I have had many, many, many late night conversations about my emotional journey and how I have been maturing through it this entire time. So I have no problem owning up to the fact that my emotional maturity was pretty low compared to most people of my age. It's not a bad thing. It's just I didn't develop at the same rate as other people.
I think that's important to point out and to specifically and explicitly say that it's not a bad thing. It's just people mature differently. You know, just like, you know, there were the kids who like went through puberty at fucking age 11 and 12. And then there's people like me, like my brother who's 2 years younger than I, we went through puberty at the same time. I was 15, almost 16, and he was 13. So, you know, people grow up different ways, differently, different speeds, and there's not a value judgment attached to it. So
right. And a lot of it just has to do with people realizing that other people do not have the same life experiences that you do. So just because you think one way doesn't mean that everybody is going to think that way because they haven't had that experience. And in my case, that was very true. I grew up on my own. There is 8 years difference between myself and my youngest sibling, and there is 7 years difference between myself and my oldest sibling. That's a huge span, even though there's 8 of us, 8 siblings. I'm stuck in this weird spot of kind of being in the middle, but at the same time, I'm an only child. On top of that, my older sister had cancer and was like, my mom was with her in the hospital the entire time. My dad was working 2 jobs. So I was literally left on my own to grow up, and I didn't have parental figures in the same way other people did. So that's why my emotional maturity took so long to develop, because I didn't have those building blocks when I was little. And I'm kind of getting off track here, but.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like, I don't know how exactly to put it. I think sometimes that emotional maturity kind of affects how we all can relate. Like, I think that's one of the good things about how me and Jim kind of get together is we have different levels of emotional maturity, and it kind of, like we said, we balance.
yup.
Yeah.
So earlier, Chess, you mentioned that your husband is 5 years older than you.
No, he's 5 years older than
5 years older than your parents. Sorry.
Yeah.
How did his parents receive you?
Well,
And I already know the answer to this, but maybe our listening audience doesn't. How did your parents receive him?
Well, his parents didn't really receive me because both of his parents passed when he was in his 20s.
Oh, wow.
And so they were not figures that I've ever met. I've heard plenty about them, seen pictures. He has a brother who's, I think, 3 years older than he is. And so his family in general has been pretty receptive to my existence. My parents were, they've been variously good and weird. My dad, I think, especially was kind of weirded out at first, but is now very cordial. And here's the handshake. We saw him yesterday for 4th of July type fireworks stuff. family time, and my mom, she seemed to get over it pretty quickly in terms of like the age difference, but right at first it definitely threw her off. My brothers have never had an issue, so I mean, it's been all right. I think probably most of the time the age difference between us tends to be a thing with strangers, just because of the assumption of they assume that I'm the son out with dear. I'm taking dad out to dinner. Come on, dad, let's go out to dinner. You know, when I was younger, it was always like he got the check every time. Like they never put it down on the table in between us. They just handed him the bill. And but now we're running into things like we were at the phone store the other day, and the little salesperson, she was very clearly, well, she's just talking to me and says, well, if he's not really that tech savvy, you might try getting him this. Like he wasn't even fucking there. Like,
oh my God.
And I could just see him getting hotter and hotter the more that she would talk to me and not to him, like he wasn't even there. And so that's the one we run into more now.
Yeah, that particular thing, Chess, that you're describing, that experience with Joe, it's happened with me with my own father.
Yeah.
We'll be at the doctor's office, and I'm there, and they'll start talking to me like he's not in the room, and I just have to call it out and be like, the patient is right here. Like
well,
it's a weird conversation style thing. I think has occurred recently that people get like, I don't know, tunnel vision or boxed or whatever, and they talk in a way that I don't think they realize you're kind of being insulting. Like that the other person is literally right here. Like why do you think this is a one-on-one chat or text conversation or whatever the hell's going on in your head?
Yeah, that was the thing about that particular conversation is like I was going in my head, I'm like, I can see he's heating up, he's red in the face. I can either intervene and say, hey, you should talk to him, he's right here, but then that's still kind of me reaching in for him instead of him doing it himself. And so so before I had resolved that, we had resolved to leave. And so we left, but that sort of thing happens a lot. There's always the little assumptions like, oh, are you here with your dad? There's been people who knew Joe like years and years ago. Other sidelight, he also has 2 sons because he was married for 20 odd years. And one of them is like, 10 months younger than I am. And so there are people who knew him years and years ago who have mistaked me for his son.
For his son.
And had like introduced, been like, oh, Jeff, how are you doing? Like, and I'm like, oh, I'm not Jeff. And some of them have just been like, oh, hey, how you doing? And like talking to me like I'm Jeff, his son, and I'm not. And I'm just like, oh, I'm fine. How are you doing? Great. And I'm like, oh, they thought I was your kid. And it used to be a joke, and he used to be really kind of self-conscious about it, but now we just kind of laugh.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Like so Jim has only officially in my family met my mother. There's issues, but I'll get to that. There's no need to get into that. But he has met my mother. My mother was fine with him as far as I could tell. I think there are some other issues there that I think she and I need to have a conversation about. That I'll talk to you about it later. Jim's here, by the way. They all say hi.
You don't say, because you just kind of gave it away.
Yeah.
Oh, did I just drop that? Yeah, let me pick that up.
Yeah. So, but for the most part, I've had some of the issues with that that Chess is mentioning in regards to checks being given to him first or anything like that. It happens. It does. And et cetera. It's very interesting when you see people at a table and you don't realize what their dynamic is, and you kind of, I understand that servers and whatnot have to make decisions and assumptions on things, and we've, now that I've gotten older as well, it now kind of tends to fall into the middle. But when we were first going out, it was definitely, here's the check, Jim, like, or it's fall on his side of the table, and sometimes I'm the one picking up the check, sometimes he's the one picking up the check, it always depending on what was going on with us. It just always, I always went, okay. I didn't let it really bother me per se, but it was just like it went into my mind and was like part of the checklist of things, like, oh, that's happening.
I think it's interesting to point out that while I haven't really had that kind of experience with the general public, my experience with people thinking that I'm the daddy has come more from Leather Bear and Kink Folk, because they're looking at it as daddy, not that I'm his father or something like that.
Yeah.
Daddy. I think the reason why, when we're out in public and we're doing things like having dinner or whatever, I come off as younger than I am. Like my image.
You don't say.
I know, like Backstreet Boys. Hello. But no, that's something that people have said to me quite often when they try and peg me for my age. They're like, I would never have guessed that you were 40. I thought you were like 32. And it is because I dress in a younger sense. I wear t-shirts and baggy clothes, and the things that I talk about, the things that I like, are typically things that people in their mid-20s like. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's why I have not had those same experiences that you two have both have.
Mm-hmm. Not yet. I think if you, like I said, I think if you weren't as useful in look as you were, there would probably be some similar, you would probably be dealing with it. I think it would
be very different. Yeah, you're right. I think it would be very different if Evan shows up in his normal everyday clothes and I show up in slacks and a button-down shirt or a polo or something like that. I think that's what it is. But the fact that we both dress alike, mostly because we wear the same size, I think that has a huge impact on people's perception of us.
Yeah. Perspective is a tricky thing.
Yeah. Evan has not met anybody in my family yet. They're just, all of my family is too far spread about. Certain people of my family know about him because they pay attention, like my nieces, because they're on Facebook and they pay attention to Facebook, so they know who Evan is.
Yeah.
My dad doesn't know who he is. Nobody has met him. But I have met everybody in his family, like his immediate family, his mom, his dad, and his sister. I've met all three of them. His mom's really cute. Whenever I see her, she comes up and she's all, "Oh, Chester, how are you?" and gives me a big giant hug, and I'm just like, "Aww. I'm good." Yeah. So they have received me very well. The very first time I met them, I was expecting to get raked over the coals with questions like, "Why are you dating my son?" and "Have you guys thought about the age difference?" And like, I had run through scenarios in my head, just because I'm paranoid about it, about what kind of things I'm going to say and what do they know, what don't they know. Oh, that was one thing. The very first time I met them was right after I returned from Claw, and we're sitting at dinner, and his mom asks me, "So how was your trip?" And my mind starts thinking, well, which trip? What are you talking about? What are you referring to? And I was like, it was good. Well, which one are you asking about? And she's like, well, didn't you just go to Cleveland? And I was like, yeah, my trip to Cleveland went really well. And she's like, oh, okay. And they know I'm a photographer. I'm waiting for them to ask questions about why I'm in Cleveland and what I'm photographing. Because my own father has asked me that, and I've had to tell my dad, which is funny. I've got my dad sitting on one side of me and my niece, who's 21, sitting on the other side of me. My dad asks the questions, and I tell him what it is, and then my niece follows it up with, oh, so is it like fashion leather or kink leather? This is the same niece who has said, oh, by the way, not your kind of bears, when she's talking about a 5K. She's very in tune with these things in my life.
Cool.
So yeah, it was just it caught me off guard when she asked me that question, and immediately following dinner, Evan's like, so how do you think dinner went? Did you enjoy meeting my parents? And I was like, yeah, everything went well. I only have one criticism, and that's, will you please tell me what they know about me and what they don't know? Because that was very awkward for me, because I was not about to tell, explain to them what it is that I do for a living.
Uh-oh. Well, you could explain it in broad strokes.
Well, I'd have to be very vague about it. The thing is I know what his parents do. His mom is a minister at a church, and I wasn't about ready to say, yes, I was in Cleveland taking photographs of guys walking around in jock straps all weekend long.
Yeah, could have just broad stroke. I'm a photographer. I get hired for certain events to do photography for said event. I go around all weekend and take pictures of the people at the event. What's the event? Oh, it varies. They vary. They can be from anything from the ridiculous to the sublime. And different. I mean, it's just enough, hopefully, to give the appeasement, and hopefully it's enough to be like, let's not dig too deep. Let's not go down that rabbit hole too far, because you may not like what you see. So yeah. What next?
We were going to talk about the challenges and advantages of age differences.
We talked about some of them already.
Some of them, yeah.
The sharing of our favorite things, the music, movies, that sort of thing. I have to say, my exposure to a lot of music was greatly enhanced by Joe. My parents, of course, had their music as I was growing up as a kid, but the difference between 5 or 6 years age difference really did make a pretty significant difference in the music that they listened to, and so I got exposed to a whole lot of really cool music that I had never had a lot of exposure to. So.
Yeah, that's something that Evan and I have discussed quite a bit. He's very much into music. He sings, he plays instruments. His dad is in a band and has a musical background. His sister is a singing coach, so music is a big part of his life. And when we first started dating, and I realized this about him, because music is a big part of my life too, but more for the sense of because it makes me happy. I just started going through my CDs one day, and this shows our age difference. I was going through my CDs, and I was pulling out certain albums, and I'm like, ooh, you really need to listen to this one, and listen to this one. Like I pulled out Metallica's Black Album, and there was an Alanis Morissette, and Madonna album, and Pearl Jam. Anyway, I'm pulling out all these things that are important to me, and I hand him this stack of CDs, and he's like, I don't have a CD player. And I was like,
I was waiting for it.
well, how do you listen to music then? He's like, I've just got an Apple iTunes account, and I download it I just download some songs I want. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's do this. Type all these albums in and download them.
Oh my God.
That's hilarious.
That hurts so much.
Oh my god.
Here, you should listen to these 8 tracks.
Right. I'm right there with you, Chess. That was my exact thought when you said he doesn't have a CD player, and I was like, yeah, that would be like me handing 8 tracks to somebody, of my own age group, and watching them going, what do you do with this thing?
Yeah. What is this?
I remember 8 tracks. My mom had 8 tracks. We had an 8-track player in our thing.
Yeah. So you got over the technology hurdle. Has he listened to the albums?
Yes, there are several that he really enjoyed. He's like, oh, I know of this group, like Pearl Jam. He just doesn't know any of their music. And it's worked both ways, because he has gotten me into groups because of the same reasons. Like, he will listen to certain things when he's driving in the car. And I am one of those people that whomever is driving controls the radio and what they're listening to. So when he's driving, I've got to listen to whatever he's playing. And there has been times where he has listened to something and I'm like, oh, this is really good. What is this? And yeah.
So for me, a lot of the things I've gotten most from Jam are actually theater related. We've learned a lot. I've learned a lot of different theater, both Broadway and whatnot, from him. He's a artistic director for a theater, so he has to like look at theater and look at shows all the time, and it's broadened my range about musicals that I didn't necessarily know about, and not just because they're older. It's just that they weren't in my frame of reference. There's music. I've been a theater person. There's stuff I love, but I've always, it's very popular stuff. Wicked, Rent. There are things that are generally like everyone kind of knows. Through him, I've learned a lot about different shows that I didn't necessarily know about, and have really broadened my scope of that.
Like what?
Like what? Oh gosh. What's the name of oh God. He's over here, what's it about? And now I can't remember. I'm totally blanking on it. Yes. You're in it. Yes. Keep talking. Don't run me. We're talking. Yeah. So it's Brigadoon. Oh my God. Sorry. There was one that I've not seen it, but there's just so much beautiful music to that, and that story is just so interesting that I didn't realize. I've never heard it before. I'd never seen. I knew about it obviously, but I didn't know the story, and I hadn't seen the story until he was in it, and showed me about it. So yeah, there's that, and there's other things too, but that's the one that I remember right now. If I try to go further, it'll.
I think the one that Joe introduced me to, or that I listened to because of Joe, that I appreciate more than anything else is probably, well, there's probably 2. The first one is a lot of his attraction to like early 70s jam band kind of music. And then also he exposed me to a lot of David Bowie that I had not had exposure to, because my parents, Bowie was too weird for them. So there was no David Bowie in my existence until Joe, really. And so those are the 2 I appreciate the most.
Cool.
I'm curious about something in terms of we're talking kind of about the I guess the advantages, the things that you learned. Was there other things that like you had to have a specific conversation about something you appeared to know nothing about?
I have had to sit Evan down and talk about certain things before. The very first time that we went on a trip together was a few months ago when I took him to Columbus. And I have traveled quite a bit. I know how to pack my luggage. I know what can get packed. I know what can't go in your luggage. I know when to be at the airport and why you need to be there, and all the steps going through TSA and the check-in process. I understand all that stuff. I understand it better than most people because I've done it so much. Now, I also know that Evan has only ever flown like twice in his life, and both times he was like age 10. And now he's 22, 23, and has not done it as an adult. So his experience with this is going to be very different. So when we were when we were packing the few days before, I had explained all of these things and told him, okay, well, our plane leaves at 4. We need to be at the airport at 2:45 to make sure we get through security, blah, blah, blah. And it's now like 3 o'clock, and I'm like, because he was supposed to pick me up, and I'm like, where are you? And he's like, oh, well, I'm waiting for my roommate to pick us up and take us to the airport. And I'm like, we should have been there 15 minutes ago. Why aren't you here? And then when he finally showed up, it was just, he didn't realize that there was a sense of urgency with it.
Oh.
And he could tell that I was upset and frustrated. And I'm like, just get your shit. Let's go. We've got to get there. And then we finally get through security and we get through the airport. And we're sitting down waiting for the plane. And he's like, what is the big deal? And I'm like, I don't think you realize that if we did not get here by a certain time, that we would not be able to get on the plane. Just because the plane leaves at 4 o'clock doesn't mean that you could show up at 3:59 and get on it. You need to be here like 45 minutes early, because that's the way the airports do it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like,
honey, not
we
the
miss this
entire
flight.
world doesn't work on gate time.
If you miss this flight, we missed this flight, and then we have to rebuy tickets, and they're like 4 times the amount. It just does not work that way. And it's the reason why when this first happened, I immediately thought to myself, is this person too young for me to date and be with or have a long-term relationship with? It shook me that much. And then when I sat down and I thought, I sat down, we had a conversation about this, about the fact that your actions may have consequences. And then when I really dug into it, why did this happen like this? I'm like, oh, I get it. It's because he hasn't had this life experience. He doesn't know what it's like to miss a flight because he's never missed a flight. And then, the more I thought about it, I'm like, oh, yeah, I get it now. He's young. It's not that he's immature. He just hasn't had the life experiences. And that's something I've learned about myself is I need to take those things into consideration when we do things that he's never done or had an experience. I have to put myself into his shoes and think about what's going to happen and why in a manner that trying to think of how he's going to react.
Yeah. Again, perspective. That's my big
Exactly.
thing. Go ahead.
I'm just curious, because Chester, you talked about that with Evan. For the rest of you, did you ever have a moment like Chester did, where you kind of had to say to yourself, "Is the age span an issue that needs to be recognized in a way and could decide whether or not we continue to date. I'm not saying that it has to be that way. I mean, some people just naturally work and flow together well, but I can see why there may be opportunities, or not opportunities, experiences in which you go, okay, this is going to represent something that will always exist. It may not be significant and, as a large portion or whatever of our life. It's just there.
Well, I don't know if it's the same sort of thing. Like, don't get me wrong, we've had differences of how we operate, and I've looked at those as like, can this be something that we can negotiate and figure out? But I've never really looked at most things as a function of our age difference. The one that has been there is the kind of what I see as one of the things that in these kind of age difference relationships is always there, but people don't want to talk about it because it's uncomfortable, is kind of staring down the realities of mortality.
Yeah.
Especially in a situation where you've got ages diverse as mine and Joe's, 25 years, like from the beginning of our relationship, I've had to kind of stare down the barrel of that gun and like realize that, like, barring tragedy, there's going to come a day when he's not here anymore and I am. And that's not a super comfortable thing to think about, but you kind of have to. And that's a thing that you've got to ask yourself the question of, like, can I deal with that? Can I handle it? Can I deal with the fact that I'm going to watch my partner age, that I'm going to watch them lose some of their independence, that they may become sick, that I may have, somebody that I'm doing a lot of caretaking for. Like, can I deal with that? I think that that's something that everybody in one of these kind of age diverse relationships has to come to grips with. And I'm sure, that it gets thought about from the other side as well. Like, can I do this? Am I going to feel like a burden? Am I going to, be upset with myself and feel like I'm harming this person that I care about? And, how to have that conversation, how to talk about it, how to, reassure somebody, look, you're not a burden, how to reassure somebody, hey, look, I've thought this all the way through and I've made this choice. I make it every day. And so that's present. And that's the only thing that I can think of in terms of, like, hey, something I'm attributing to age difference, is this a make or break kind of question? I've not really had the kind of lack of understanding gap be a, can I do this or not?
Yeah.
So
very similar, like, to Chess's point, was that when we got the house, one of the issues was, and he wanted to mention that, was that there's a possibility that this it could potentially be just me living in the house. Mm-hmm. Like, it was something that I didn't think, I was thinking about, but I don't try to think about, because, like you said, it's an uncomfortable thing to think about. But it made sense, because there is a possibility. It is a possibility. It's not something we want to really, hit, but it can be a possibility. One of the things I think I take more, and it's kind of funny, because we're opposites in a lot of ways about it. I'm always concerned about his health, in that, if he's having something, if there's something wrong or something going on, I'm the nurse. I'm like, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. What are your, what, you have a fever, blah, blah, blah. Let me take your temperature, da, da, da. I'm big on doing that. But at the same time, he has a primary care physician. I do not yet. I have not made that leap yet. And it's just it's something that I've yet to do. I know. It's just something that I've yet to do. It's just, I don't know why. And it's something that I haven't done yet. I will, don't worry, it's happening. But it's just something that has always been, I've been the one that has had insurance and has been consistent with insurance, but I still have yet to to go and start actually treating with the doctor. I usually go to an urgent care when I'm sick, and that has a lot to do with a lot of it has to do with, in my family, we didn't go to the doctor until when I was a pediatrician. I know, thank you. Great. Thanks, I saw that shit. A lot of it has to do with when growing up, you didn't go to the doctor unless you were sick. So when I'm not sick, I don't feel like I need to go to the doctor. I know that's not the case. I trust me, it has been beating my head, not just by Jim, but by my family as well. It is there. It will happen. It's just something that it's taken me a lot to just actually do. Whereas Jim has a doctor who's taking care of him and he's going and treating with. And he was the one that for a while didn't have insurance either. So it was just very limbo-y, opposite kind of thing.
So you don't have like someone that you have an annual physical at or something?
Yeah. No, I don't. No.
So you're not getting regularly tested?
No, not regularly tested. No. I go to like a Planned Parenthood, or I go to a urgent care, or I go to something like that. I know. Stop finger wagging, Chess. I see you. Trust me.
Do you have insurance?
I have insurance. Okay.
Hey, that's what that's for.
Okay. Okay.
You have at least 3 people here who are glaring and finger wagging at you.
I know.
I would like to say for the record, I am not glaring nor finger wagging.
You don't have one either?
That's why I said 3.
I have
Chester and Jeff are all glaring at you and finger wagging like, what?
I know it sounds funny.
I'll say this. I think Damon and I might share this trait. I do have a PCP, but I've had 3 in my adult lifetime. I'll put it that way. I had 1 for my childhood. But I only go to the doctor mostly, until this past year, when there's something wrong. Like I really need something dealt with. So I think I'm not advocating that like an emergency room or an urgent care, any of those facilities are a good replacement for that.
Yeah.
But I can kind of understand the mentality of like, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong, and that kind of stuff.
So it's
making that decision. I think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of people are forced to do that because they don't have coverage. And even when you do have coverage, it doesn't necessarily mean that you think in terms of I should go have, all these things addressed or looked at or whatever.
Trust me, it is on my mind. It is on my agenda. It is just something that I have yet to do. It is.
Move it up in priority.
Yeah.
Physical.
You think
have
so?
Your doctor put in your testing.
Because I've trust me.
It's like
I get
really
things
need to do.
I get it done
once a year.
I'll get it done.
# preaching over.
So there we go. Moving right along.
All right. In the live chat, Drew asked, do you think older partners have similar issues about being the oldest, referring to getting sick and what they are leaving behind?
Well, as I said earlier, we share the same size and clothes, so he can have them all.
Oh, God.
I don't know. This is something that I haven't really thought about a lot because I am the older one in the relationship, whereas you guys are the younger ones. So I haven't really thought about it because I'm only 40. Now, I have had to deal with turning 40 and all sorts of shit has come up because of that. I look at myself and I'm like, wow, my life is probably more than half over. I haven't sat down and talked with Evan about that yet. I don't think it's really come up. I know that there is a significant difference in our age, and I'm that I have to remind him that you realize in 20 years you're going to be my age, and in 20 years, I'm going to be like retired and, you know, ready for a home.
God. Yeah. The future things are the things I do think about and think about myself. Is the whole, and I understand it. I wonder sometimes if he does wonder about that. Um, you know, I know part of him has talked. You know, like I said, when we bought the house, that was one of the things we kind of discussed was the whole possibility of there being a, you know, this being my house, you know, by myself kind of thing. We've kind of not really discussed it, but it's been brought up more often than not. It's one of the reasons why certain things are the way they are. It's, you know, there will be a time when there is a possibility that something like that could happen. On the flip of that, there is a possibility there is something that could potentially happen to me that could affect what happens. You know, we've not really discussed that yet. I've got certain things in place, but nothing fully set in stone concrete when, you know, because you don't, like we talked about it before. It's uncomfortable. It's something you don't necessarily want to think about, but it is something that you should think about and talk about.
Yeah, as I can be the testimonial here that you definitely should think about it. Joe has had a number of health issues. He had a heart attack and 5 bypass surgery back in 2012. The recovery from that, he's had some other health issues that have cropped up in the last couple of years that have landed him in the hospital a couple of times. And so, plus he's also retired from his job at the university. And so we had to make, you know, retirement type decisions about finances and things along those lines as well. Both in terms of the planning stuff and in terms of the emergency type stuff. I definitely advocate, like, as uncomfortable as they are, like having those type of conversations. And I know he has, in response to kind of the question that started this, I know he has thoughts and feelings and issues about it, because those have been part of some of our conversations. And, you know, we don't like to think in terms of, you know, a post Joe era, if you can handle that terminology. But sometimes you have to think about it. For example, when we were looking at his retirement stuff, he had a couple of different options where he could get a payout that was just like everything he put in, etc., which he would exhaust in a couple of years, or something that would pay out a lesser amount for the length of his lifetime. And then there was a third amount that would pay out a little bit less than that, but it would be for the length of his lifetime and the length of his spouse's lifetime. Which is, you know, we had to sit there and think about that decision, like which way do we want to go with that? And so ultimately, in part because we crunched the numbers, because of the difference in our ages, like it really kind of made sense to go for the one that was for my lifetime as well. But we had to have some of those kind of conversations about, you know, what are we doing in this uncomfortable territory that we're talking about. As far as the like emergency type situation, and I advocate this for all couples who are involved in like serious type relationships, whether or not you're married, there's still stuff you can do in terms of getting a durable power of attorney and a medical healthcare directive. You can get those kind of things in place without too much trouble. And you really should, because you never know when that sort of stuff is going to pop up and you're going to need those papers to like wave in some ER doctor or ER nurse's, charge nurse's, you know, face and be like, I get to see my person, you know, this is my partner. I get to see them, and you can't stop me. Because the health issues that crop up, that's also an issue that I know exists for some folks who are on the December end of the May-December relationship. So
I think, you know, what you're talking about, Chess, is important. That, I mean, one aspect is to kind of circle back a couple points. it's difficult to have these conversations or to put yourself in this mindset, but the reality is that all of us are not going to be here one day.
Yes.
So at one time, everything you own that you have will be left for someone else to deal with. Whether it's your family, your spouse, your person that you're dating, whoever you bequeath it to, if you go that route or have any paperwork drawn up. And there's various effects that happen to that. And tying into that, which I thought was interesting, Sigma Wolf joined us online and let us know that he was in his 20s. He had won a leather title, and then he said his master found out that he had cancer, and within a few months he lost him. So a lot of people, he said, too many people told me that's why you date someone closer to your age, which I think was a interesting side piece of feedback. It's, to me, that actually sounds like fucked up, because it's almost like they're saying, well, that's what you get for dating someone who's older. I mean,
Yeah.
Or being in a relationship with someone that's older, I should say.
It's also a really shitty way to talk to somebody.
Because fuck you for wanting to have a good quality relationship for the next 20, 30, 40, possibly 50 years.
Right. And then he did say when that happened, he was 22 and Sir was 54, and that he does, he still misses his caller, but he doesn't have any regrets. And thankfully, we have the same protections that other couples have now, referencing, I think Sigma's talking about marriage equality. But even so, I know people still take extra caution, to have other things drawn up. I mean, you have to have your advance directive, and those type of things put together if you expect anyone to be able to speak on your behalf. I mean, my parents and I have to redo that this year. Like, now that Dad's here and all that, I told him, I'm like, everything needs redone. Your last will, and testament needs done, the advance directive, all of that stuff. We just need to revisit it, and because, no offense, you've been married twice and divorced twice, and I don't know if you even updated it since the last time you got divorced. Just things along that nature. And he's currently single, but that could change again. And I think that's one of the odd things, is people don't think in terms of, oh yeah, like my life has made a significant shift or change, and I need to address whatever that is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting to see where those things come about. And I think basically what I hear is you guys are saying you just need to have that communication. Like, you need to not only be able to communicate to be healthy in the relationship where there's an age difference, but you also have to bring into those conversations these exact items. Like, hey, this isn't going to necessarily be fun, but I think we need to get this over with.
Well, and the other thing is like in addressing them for the purpose of the relationship conversation, a lot of times it kind of forces, if you on either side of it have an issue with the mortality question, it forces you as the individual to have to own your issues and fucking deal with them.
True that.
Because otherwise you're not going to be able to have that conversation productively. So, avoidance is real.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to doctors.
And it's the
Thanks.
will and testament is very, very important. Very, very important. And make sure that your significant other knows where it is and what's going on and everything. Because sometimes you just don't know when he's gone. Like, me and Carl, we went to Gen Con, thought everything was okay. There were complications when we got back. We're like, okay, we're going to get you to the hospital for this current thing. The next thing I know, he's gone.
Yeah.
All, saying that, I'm here at work crying just because I don't know what's going on. It's seeming to be really serious. So I head home, going to visit. The next thing I know, I get a call saying that he's gone. So knowing these things and having them ready is very, very, very important. Because I was a dumb 27-year-old.
Yeah.
Maybe I was 26 at the time. No, I was 26, about to turn 27 before my birthday. And I had no idea what to do, and I regret everything that happened at that time because I wasn't prepared, and I should have been. Even though I'm like, no, we're gonna get through this. It's gonna be fine. Getting fine.
Yeah.
Even if I'm expecting that you're expecting that everything's gonna be fine, you need to be prepared for the worst. Otherwise, it's not gonna be fine. And I'm not even sure if I've recovered for the 10 years after from that whole situation.
I can.
I think
It's very, very important.
Yeah, I agree, Jeff. I think that you need to have your ducks in a row, like your stuff figured out, your paperwork and all that. The hardest part, though, is I think more people don't know when to do it. So, like, I'm gonna. Well, Chester, I was going to use you and Evan as an example. Like, you are new in a relationship, and you're dating, and you've made some important decisions about your immediacy, your short-term future, what you're going to do. But it's kind of like, where and when do you say, this is what I currently have, and now I'm going to change it to this? Like, because basically, as adults, all of us should have, this is the plan, and then you have to adjust it as things occur. But I can see where people are maybe reluctant or don't think about it because, you're dating, you're getting to know somebody, and you haven't quite maybe, fully had a in-depth discussion about how serious is this, and where do we want it to go, and what's the next thing, and then, what happens from there? Where do you take that type of stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I have two best friends that I have told them, just so you know, you are next in line after my parents. Like, because I don't have kin, quote unquote. I'm an only child, don't have kids. So it's like, if mom and dad aren't around, y'all are next. Like, and that's in terms of like the payout on a life insurance policy. That's this other thing. And I know that they're kind of like, oh, like, all right. Like, and I can tell it's very like, ooh, like, like, that's kind of weird to talk about. But my thing is, it's like, hey, I got to fill out the paperwork for work. And they're like, who's your beneficiaries? If it's not going to be this, it's going to be that. Where's it going to go? And so I admit that I haven't had full-blown discussions with them, as my best friends. But I see that that's probably what's going to come once mom and dad are kind of squared up in terms of the paperwork, and I know where I stand on that. I'm pretty sure I can speak openly that I'm probably going to be the executor, and that I'm going to be responsible for everything. But when the point comes that they're not here, if I'm not in a relationship with someone that I want to, put that to, then it goes to, one of these two people, or co-joined. They might end up sharing it. I don't know.
If I could just like stick this out here, I know that for some folks, in terms of getting these kind of documents done or getting these kinds of decisions made, one of the big hangups for a lot of folks is, well, I can't afford an attorney. Like, I've got to go get a lawyer to do all this and draw it all up and get those sort of things done. There's something, and I'm providing this as information, not legal advice. Let me stick that out there. But there are a number of states that recognize what's called a holographic will, and that's not like Obi-Wan Kenobi, holographic, your only hope. It's basically a holographic will is like a handwritten will, and it's something that you just write out by hand and sign. And different states have different like witnessing requirements, but like the list of states that do recognize holographic wills are Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Idaho, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Michigan, Mississippi, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Jersey, North Carolina, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. And so the thing about that is you can update your will by handwriting it. And it has to be handwritten. You can't type it out on your computer. In most cases, it has to be completely handwritten. But it's a way that you can kind of get around the expense of an attorney. And it's something that you can kind of deal with yourself if you're having trouble having that conversation, or there's still some issues and barriers of discomfort. Like you can write it out yourself and get it done yourself. Like I said, check with your your state on specific witnessing requirements, but that's an option. Plus, doing things like living will directives and medical advance directives, those in most states are easy as getting a form. Like you can literally talk to a lawyer, or in a lot of cases you can get online and dig around and find a form. And sometimes just having the obvious intent in place, if you ever find yourself in a legal question situation, having a clear indication of your intent, that can go a long way towards stopping some of the horror stories that you hear, where partners of 20 years, one of them passes, and then in sweeps the estranged family to just like take away everything. So don't let hang-ups about, oh my God, I can't afford an attorney, or oh my God, that's too complicated, be an absolute bar to getting those things done. You can find ways to do them without having to like spend an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there it is.
I just want to throw this out here as one more thing before we finish up. I will say one thing about me being older than Evan and having different life experiences. It has been very, very fun for me because I get to do things with him that I can say, hey, let's go do this thing, because it's something that I really enjoy. Like going to Walt Disney, for instance. I love going to Disney. You guys know this. You've been my friends for years.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a special treat to take him there for his very, very first trip and allow him to have those experiences. And it gave me the opportunity to see his reactions to those experiences that I had 20 some years ago when I went for my first time. And it was such an awesome feeling to be able to give that to somebody else.
Yeah.
And to also be able to watch that happen. So
Yeah.
It's kind of narcissistic in a way, but I'm so glad that I was able to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a reality of it all. From both sides of the perspective, is that sometimes you're seeing things that they've already done before for the first time, and sometimes they're seeing things for the first time that you've never done before. It's just very interesting dynamic of, I wouldn't call it narcissistic. It's just like sharing that joy or that experience, that feeling that you got from doing something. We were talking about music and everything else, but there's something to be said about going into a show that neither of us have seen before, that neither of us have know much about. We went to see Lion King, I think, around the time of Claw one year. I had never seen it before. He had seen it before, and he knew all about it. And he was very happy and honored to see what I was dealing with, what I was seeing and experiencing.
I think it's safe to say that just about anybody would be happy to share their experience with somebody else. Like, you already have the knowledge, you want to pass it on to somebody else. I don't know anyone who does not like that feeling. And me dating Evan, I have been given this chance to go through those feelings so many times ahead of me in our life together. And yeah, I think that's pretty awesome.
I wanted to say also from the live chat, because I was trying to say it and I was on mute, so that didn't work. Sigma Wolf had said, hugs to you, Jeff. It's one of those things, those new to the community, be it gay, bear, leather, other, need to have the talk about the loss of family and friends, how to, have respect and honor and enforce any final wishes there are to come. The the final thing I wanted to before we move into closing is Drew brought up an interesting point. He said, do you see your role ever changing or reversing down the line? And he used this example. In my early years, I always look towards older guys for dating, and now that I'm older, I find myself looking at younger guys.
Yes. I'm just going to put it out there. Yes. I've wanted a perspective. I know I joked about it earlier about like having young kids and not really, relating to guys my own age, but I see myself in the future, especially potentially being sort of that mentor, that's friendly face that they can go to and have fun with, as it were. I know I'll put it in this funny perspective. One of the rules I remember about going to a bathhouse is, take care of your the older guys, because someday that'll be you. I know it sounds, it's meant to be kind of tongue-in-cheek, kind of funny, but reality is sometimes you have the potential of being that older person. If you, make it that long, you're going to be that older guy at the bathhouse and so why not are at the bar or at the club or on Tumblr or on Growler or whatever. So, show a little respect. I know it's funny, but just show a little respect and have fun. You never know what you're going to get experience-wise with someone. And I would love to have been that positive influence and experience for someone else.
I agree with you, Damon, in that the interesting point is when I grew up, I was an only child, and I lived in a neighborhood without really anybody near my age. So I was always surrounded by older individuals, and I've thought of that in the past. Like anytime I've heard someone younger and they're kind of like, hey, gross old man or whatever, they say some stupid shit like that, I just call it out. I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry, honey. One thing you need to know. One day you're going to be that old and your balls are going to be dragging to the floor. So how about you check yourself? Like, don't be like, yucking another yum, or, if it's not your gig, that's fine. I understand you're not interested. You don't care for it, but no, that's totally true. That, I mean, I find that now, and I don't know when it happened. There wasn't a conscious moment. Like I didn't flip a switch at one moment and was kind of like, I'm going to be interested in younger guys now. It's just, I was always interested in guys older than me, like specifically in my 20s. I hated 20-year-olds. I could not stand to be around people close to my age. I thought they were all fucking idiots. Like they were all partying all the time. They were like being silly and stupid. They were making decisions that I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Not that my life was stellar, but I was just like, I just can't relate to this. I want to be around someone who's like got their life together and kind of has like, some things figured out and a career and whatever is happening. So I somewhere along the line kind of transitioned. And I think part of that happened in the past 5 to 6 years. I found myself being around younger guys more often, not only as like friends and best friends, as I say, family. It's also now, I mean, like last night I said, or yesterday when I was at, the bathhouse and I'm talking to, this one younger guy, I recognized that he was seeing the age difference between us because, I'm not going to dye this, I'm not going to make the gray go away. As it was reminded to me when I was at said convention with my father, all these people who are my dad's age are like, you look more like your father every day. Look at all that hair, like your gray hair coming in. Gee, thanks. Like, that's really what I wanted to hear since I've been coming here for, over 30 fucking years. But, I recognized that this, this younger guy was, seeing me in this one perspective, but also, not running away and being like, get away from me, creepy old man. So I thought that was good, that it was, respectful. And I agree with you, Damon, that there are individuals that, are sometimes treated poorly and there's no reason for it. Yeah. If you're not interested, you're not interested.
Simple as that.
Case.
Well.
Drew says, #preach Damon. And then another preach, LOL. Sigma says, just the tea. Oh. And he says, amen. I ain't one of those silly twinks. Was there as many of us? Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hold on. Drew just said hashtag truth to Gary. Yeah, I mean, I think there's just a point where it makes sense to behave a certain way or to do certain things, and other times it doesn't. So,
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on Drew's question about seeing yourself in the flip? Like you know, being, say, the younger individual, and then at a certain point you might become an older individual and in a relationship, whether it be, I guess, romantic or not.
Well, I already do a lot of like mentor type activities with folks who are younger than me, kind of in the leather setting. So, having a younger brother who I always like was like the teacher for, that kind of position is also comfortable for me. So, I mean, I don't sense that there's an actual transition there for me, I guess. So,
Excuse me. There will be an actual transition. It's kind of already there.
yeah, it's already kind of there. So,
Just like, I mean, the only thing I think it could happen was like if, in a relationship something happens and you start dating a younger guy, like that could probably be the only thing. Like I've thought about that. Like there's the possibility of depending on how our relationships go, things could potentially happen where there's a younger, quote unquote, maybe third or what have you. It's just the way it's going to be. I technically have a quote unquote little brother in Stick. And it's kind of funny that the way our relationship works, our dynamic works, mostly because I kind of am the older guidance that he also tends to get from Jim. So, yeah. So,
I think that about covers it.
I think we're good.
I think it is. Gary, do you by any chance have this one?
Well, what are we moving into next?
I'll
Tumblr.
tumble for you. I'll tumble for you.
Sorry.
So cute!
Uh-oh. What is this? Who is this?
If you didn't know, I'm a dog person.
Aww.
I'm a dog person.
So seeing someone, a cute chubby boy, curl up with the very adorable little puppy. Oh. I just want to cuddle up with both of them for some cuddle
Her name is
time.
Diamond.
To kick the dog off the bed and maybe some more fun. But
We don't kick the dog off the bed.
It's gonna be.
I straight out the room very gently.
All right. Do you want to have sex and have a dog on the bed at the same time? That's just weird.
Well,
At least
I
Sonic
have.
likes to be under the bed.
It's not like the dog was included.
Yeah. Anywho, moving right along. It's a very cute picture. I like the dog. I like the guy. He's a cute guy. It's a cute picture. Like it's cute.
Yeah, the picture is about adorableness more than sexiness, though. So.
Haha.
Damon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, in line with the theme of today's episode, I found this picture of a good friend Ruben, aka Cubby Pup. It's just, and I asked the question, "Playtime Daddy." I don't know what's going on in the actual picture, but that's kind of what comes to mind.
It is.
Ruben is always so cute.
Yes, he is. It's a good it's a good capture. I just like the looks on their faces. Yeah, it's just a good picture overall.
So mine I titled Silver Bear Shower Time. It's of an older bearish guy. He's got silver hair, silver beard. He's in the shower. He's all soaped up. There's
Mhm.
a 3/4 length shot of him, but he's got a towel in front of him. Modesty. Yeah, it's fun.
It's cute.
Cute.
Great eyes. Familiar.
Gary,
Sorry, I'm trying to catch up because I forgot to put my post into the doc earlier. So now I'm behind by like 2 links ish. I was also thinking about the fact that this must be the more like frustrating part of watching the YouTube show because like we don't post these pictures on YouTube. We just describe them.
For a reason.
So everybody's kind of forced. Well, it depends on technically what the content is. Like mine could be shown if I knew how to do that somehow. So this guy, I don't know his actual name. I kind of wish I really did, because I have a bit of a lustful thing now. He is. It's cute because his Tumblr now says I'm back. He goes by Canadian Cub, actually Maple Leaf Cub, on Tumblr, and I thought this was really cute. It's called Wearing My Pride Undies, and they're from American Eagle, which I didn't know that they made these, but they're like pride striped, like sort of on one side, and then they got all these stars on the other side, and they're split like down the middle when you're looking at them front and back. So it's not like the front of the underwear and the back; it's literally like half and half, like one leg of each. But he's super adorable. He's an example of a younger guy that I'm like, oh yeah, like I would like to be acquainted with you in many different ways. So yeah, I think he's sort of, for me, like representative of how there comes a point in your life whenever that occurs that you will start to recognize you are at a certain age and now there is another generation of individuals coming after you. What's that?
say that one more time, Gary. You come of age and what?
That you recognize that there's another generation.
Oh, you mean like all of a sudden there are all these really cute, adorable, sexy 20-somethings that are all like bombarding bear culture right now? Is that what you're talking about?
That's one aspect of it. What I was thinking of was like this is something that I recognized from yesterday. I saw myself in a couple of guys that were at the sauna that they were shy and uncomfortable. That the way they carried themselves physically, they weren't feeling good about how they look or how they feel or how they would be received. And that sometimes that kind of melts away when someone pays attention to them, and I think that's what I was occurring and what's been on my mind is, yeah, there comes a point where they're not 5 years younger, 10 years younger. Do you know what I mean? Like there comes a point where it's like, yeah, significantly they are basically the next generation. And then eventually there will be another generation after that. Yeah. Most individuals who, if they have children, to them, I think that's much more apparent. Not a pun. So, that they have kids and then they have grandkids. I don't have that. It's different for me, and it's sort of different for my mom because she has not remarried. She does not have any other children. My dad remarried and has a stepson, and then he had children. So my dad is a grandfather. So to him, that dynamic's always there. But because I haven't had any of that and I haven't adopted or anything, so to me it's different. I lapse my own age reference all the time. Someone just asked me this weekend how old I was. I had to really think about it. I couldn't remember my exact age.
All I could think about while you were saying all that was that creepy old guy who's like, the best part about dating the girls who are still in high school? The older I get, the younger they stay.
Oh.
And so I was thinking about, it's like, the best part about bagging 20-something cubs? The older I get, the younger they stay. That's all I could think about when you were talking about it.
I thought you were gonna make a reference to.
Creepy.
I thought you were gonna make a reference to the old guy from. Is it American Dad?
Oh, you mean Family Guy,
From
Herbert?
Family Guy, the guy that doesn't ever have his teeth in.
I got some popsicles down in the basement. Mmm. Got some strong arms.
Stop now, please.
Come on over, Chris. Help me move some things down in the basement. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Hmm.
No.
Are we moving on?
Yes, we're moving. Thank God. We're moving.
Okay.
Yeah. And with that,
No, mine is just a link to a recent post of Lexington Pride with my husband, Joe, in case people want to have a look. And I was kind of rocking the scout motif.
I've noticed.
And
I know that guy. That's right.
and then there's also one other picture there with me and my buddy Robert. We saw him, and I just took a picture of him. So, but
He's
yeah,
adorable.
3 of those pictures show my husband. That way, for folks who want to get a look at, what those servers are looking at when they go, "Oh, you're out with your dad." If anybody needs that visual, but yeah, kind of what Gary was talking about earlier about, like, as I get grayer, that happens less and less. So yeah, that's pretty much all.
All right, so for picks, Jeff, before yours, I think it's interesting. Sigwolf asked, he said, have y'all seen the pic of the gay teacher of the year in the Oval Office with the shade fan?
Yes.
yes. Love it.
It's very out of place, but I'm glad he did it.
Oh. It reminds me of the other ones where people like take pictures or whatever, and they're like pointing at their shirt or like a sign that they're holding, and the person with them is totally oblivious to what it says. I'm like, wow, like you really must have your mind in another place to not notice you're being set up. You know what I mean? Like that you're having this thing done. That's what I think of. Like when I saw that picture with the shade fan, at first I thought it was Photoshop, and then I was like, no, I think it's pretty real. And then I'm like, did they not know what's going on? Like, did they not realize they're getting punked, basically? I don't know. It kind of surprises me.
Yep.
All right,
So
Jeff, what's your link?
My link is the new game I'm playing because I can't play games on my computer. So I'm playing Farmville Tropic Escape, which is like you're a manager of an inn. I'm calling mine Paws Up.
Aw. Fun.
And it's fun. Well, it's basically the same fun I'm getting from Farmville to Country Escape. So that's it. It's nothing much. I have to keep myself occupied, and during my downtime when things cross the scene of Country Escape, I just move over to Tropic Escape. See how my hotels do.
And Chester?
Yeah. Okay. My link is to our friend Woofer.
Yay!
WooferSTL.tumblr.com. I always enjoy seeing his pictures because they're fun, and he always does them from a an environmental perspective. Like it's not just selfies. It's a selfie of him in a place doing something, and that's what I like about it, because those are the kind of things that I like to do. And he has this fun way of making multiple versions of himself in the photo, like he's interacting with himself, and I think that they're really fun. So yeah, go check him out.
I keep
Definitely
that he has a sir, and I've not really seen his sir in many pictures, and there's been like several recently, and I'm like,
yeah, him and his sir are both hot.
Yeah. Oh, I love that picture. Where they're wearing the same shirt. It looks like they're out and about. Oh, anyway, sorry. Yes, Wolfer has been it's awesome. I always love I love what he does with his pictures. And I love sorry. I love what he does with his pictures, and I love that he does like the multiples of himself and like you're just getting different, images and flashes of him. So yay.
Okay, so I have one thing. Wolfer posted this recently, and I'm still kind of stuck on it. It says, hashtag Sir's Happy Mutt was honored to go out with Sir and introduce him to some Wolfie guys. Submission always, pride is inherent. Thank you, Sir, for allowing me to serve. And it says at New Jersey. The picture looks like they're in a subway? Like at a subway station or something? And, like, what I'm mostly concerned about is that Wolfer appears to be buck-ass naked. Do you guys know what I'm talking about here? Like,
I found the picture. I don't know.
Like, because there's a guy, like, they're sitting on a metal bench, and it says track 1, I think, in the background on the pillar, and there's a guy with his back. I'm just kind of like, I understand this, but still am not sure if it's really what I'm seeing.
Well, someone commented naked on the Patco line. Woof.
To be fair, he does these types of photos where he takes multiple shots and then blends them together. It could just be photo manipulation, but there are certain things about this photograph you cannot fake, like his Sir sitting on that bench. You have to be really fucking good at Photoshop to manipulate the picture that way. So I have a feeling this is more than one shot. I have a feeling he really was naked, just possibly not in front of other people.
Yeah, that's the only thing where I'm kind of like, wow, like that's highly impressive, and like for me personally, just, I don't know, like
super risque. All right.
That being said,
coming home at 5 a.m. That's risque.
Yeah. Yes.
Look it up later, Gary.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, I got nothing. I can't relate. So.
Yes.
So, am I right in that?
Yes, that's the show. Yes, that's the show.
All right. Well, let's contact us. Pop over to our website, CubsOutLoud.com, where you can click on that COL merchandise link and buy yourself some COL merch. You can also shoot us an email at CubsOutLoud@gmail.com. Leave us a voicemail, 361-COL-TALK. That's 361-265-8255. You can find us on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Google+, YouTube at Cubs Out Loud in the appropriate place. There's a COL Entourage group, or Cubs Out Loud Entourage, as is listed on BearUnderground.net, the official Bear website of Cubs Out Loud. Pop over to iTunes, rate us there. You can subscribe to us to Google Play Podcast, StitcherRadio.net. You can find me anywhere on the internet. It's Box, Pet Box, Puppy Box, Cub Box, something or other.
I am TheaterCub79 on Bear Underground, Tumblr, Growler, FUNet, etc. Or you can find me as pup_umbra on Twitter.
You can find me on Tumblr or Twitter under the name The Pup Up There, or various bear dating sites across the net under the name Pup Shutter or Cupcake76.
Okay, I'm not on mute. I was about to talk, and I was like, wait, if I'm on mute, it's going to be silly. And I made it silly anyways. All right, if you want to find me anywhere on the web, it's pretty much Garbear73. That's GARBEAR73.
Cool. I'm Fox Bear on Tumblr, Growler, FetLife, Photocracy, and everywhere else pretty much online.
Yay.
And with that, take it out, everybody.
Bam, bam, bam.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
There it is.
I thought we were just going to let Chuff do it.
This is a pop shit.
God, could you imagine if Chess did his other character with both those voices having a conversation?
Oh, don't give him that idea. Bye.